Let's see. I do not want the video to go off, but usually it goes off. I don't know why. Anyways, let me try today. Share. Is the screen visible to you? Yes, no. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay. And am I visible to you? Because for me, it looks like my camera is on. Wow, perfect. That's a great thing. I am also visible and the camera is also visible. That's perfect. Okay, great. Okay, students, let's start then. Okay, let us start, students. Again, the same way we proceed, okay, with the important things that are required to us, okay, and underline the important points. If you have the material, underline it. If not, please write down the points, but writing is not advisable, okay, because you have a lot of points, so it's better you underline it. So students, let's start this chapter, Indian Union Budget. And in the starting of this chapter itself, students, we have a lot of things, okay, that we should know in Indian Union Budget. And that is this. Firstly, the first Indian budget was presented by Mr. James Wilson. You need to remember the name. You need to remember the year, date, month. Okay, so first Indian budget, this was before independence, okay, before Indian independence. So the first Indian budget was presented by Mr. James Wilson on Feb 18th, 1869. Okay, after Indian budget was introduced on April 7th, 1860 by the East Indian Company. So when was the budget introduced, this budgeting thing, when was this introduced? This was introduced by the East Indian Company in 1860, okay, on April 7th. But who gave the first budget? The first budget was given by Mr. James Wilson, okay, on February 18, 1869. 1869. I think probably that was the year Gandhiji was born. Okay, 1869. I'm not very sure. Okay, but I think so. So that's the year. Okay, 1869 Feb 18th. Okay, is a year James Wilson gave his first Indian budget. Now, but for independent India, students, remember the question here might be a little twisted here and there. Sometimes they will give you, okay, sometimes they will give you first Indian budget, and then they'll give you first budget of independent India. Remember the difference, okay? Indian budget and independent India. So the first budget of independent India, this is independent India, okay? Just a minute. Independent India's first budget was given by the finance minister. Obviously, the Indian budgets are given by the finance ministry itself. So Indian independence. After that, the first budget was given by the finance minister, R.K. Shanmugam Chetty. Okay. Shanmugam Chetty on 26th November 1947, obviously after independence. So that's why it's November 26, 1947. So the first budget of independent India, okay, was given by the finance minister, R.K. Shanmugam Chetty. Okay, on November 26, 1947. This is important. And also you should know, till 1955, budget was, okay, till 1955, budget was only printed in English language. Okay, till 1955, budget was printed only in English language. Okay, so remember this date, 1955. Up to then, the budget was printed in only in English language. Okay, next, what is important is here, students. Until 2017, the procedure or the ritual, okay, the practice or the procedure was to present the budget on the last working day of February. Last working day of February. Up to when? Up to 2017. But then they said, no, it will not be on the last working day. Rather, it will be on the first working day. So in the past 2 or 3 years, okay, 3 years to be precise, okay, 18, 19, and 20, okay, the budget is presented on the first working day of February. So up to 2017, it was last working day of February. And then they just changed it to the first working day of February. Why? So that they get time to consolidate later. They get even at least 60 days because March 31st is the year ending. Now, which are the two finance ministers who have not done any Indian budget? So there are two people, students, okay, who have not given any Indian budget. Okay, you need to remember their names of both the people. Okay, you need to remember their names of both the people who have not given the Indian budget at all. Okay, that is KC Niyogi and HN Bahuguna. Only two finance ministers who did not present any Indian budget. Okay, maybe their term expired or there was no budget during that particular time, whatever be the reason. Okay, KC Niyogi and HN Bahuguna. These names are important. Okay, because they might give you two names and they might ask you which among the following have not presented a budget. So you should know the names. Okay, KC Niyogi and HN Bahuguna. Okay, they might simply mix the name of Shanmukam Shetty also just for confusion. Okay, Shanmukam Shetty, that name also they might include. So remember, Shanmukam Shetty was the first person who gave the Indian budget after independence. And KC Niyogi and HN Bahuguna are the two finance ministers who did not present any budget. And one more, students, very, very important is that the record for presenting the highest number of budgets is held by Morarji Desai. Okay, he has presented 10 budgets. So students, this is the maximum record, okay, of presenting budgets. See, why some people cannot present 10 budgets? Maybe maximum 5 they will present. For example, imagine now 5 years, okay, there was Chidambaram as the finance minister. Then next 5 years, what happened was Arun Jaitley became the finance minister. Then 5 years now Nirmala Sitharaman is. So usually people get 5 years. It is very rare that even if the same government gets elected, okay, even if the same government gets elected for the second run, no, after 5 years, when the election happens and the second election happens, it's very rare that this finance minister, the portfolios are kept same. The portfolios keep changing, okay, until and unless if he's or he or she is a perfect finance minister, only then the finance minister portfolio is not changed. And that is when Morarji Desai was he has given the highest number of budgets, that is 10 different budgets. Now, for the first time in 92 years, students, this is very important. Before, there was separate thing called as a railway budget and separate thing called a union budget. But from 2017 onwards, union budget has been merged with the railway budget. Union budget was merged with the railway budget. 2017 it was merged. Otherwise, union budget was separate, rail budget was separate. They merged it in 2017, okay, and they started presenting it together. Probably the government at present in the central, maybe they knew already what their plans were. They thought, why extra budget to be given when we know that anyways we are going to sell railways to the private people, that after some years there will not be anything called Indian railways at all. It will be private railways. So there will not be a budget itself when we go in the long run. So simply why to have a separate budget? And that is why in 2017 they have merged it together, the union budget and the railway budget, students. So these are the important points from the first page itself. So see here, there are so many important points. Firstly, the first Indian budget was by James Wilson and the date Feb 18, 1869. Then the first budget of Indian independence was by Finance Minister Shanmukam Shetty in November 26, 1947. Then up to 1955, English was the language, okay, of budget getting printed. Then 2017, what happened was, up to then the budget was always said on the last date of working day of February, but after that it was changed into the first working day of February. There are two people who did not present the budget, the finance ministers KC Niyogi and HN Bahuguna. The record for presenting highest budgets is 10 by Morarji Desai, and the union budget and railway budget are merged together now. That's almost after 92 years, okay, since 2017. Now, before we go into the details of budget, students, you need to know, okay, which are the key terminologies here? What are the key words? So students, key words and all that, remember in this chapter and in the next chapter, there's a lot of information, but you should know only certain things. So underline properly and go through, students. Firstly, annual financial statement. Okay, annual financial statement. What do we need to know here? In annual financial statement, students, you need to know the article. Okay, which article helps prepare this annual financial statement? So remember, annual financial statement means article 112. Annual financial statement means Article 112. Remember that, because Article 112 helps the government present this annual financial statement. Okay. And what is this annual financial statement? It is nothing but, giving you, see, what is a budget financial statement? From where is the income coming and where are you spending it? That is called as a financial statement. Okay. And this annual financial statement, students, is divided into three parts: consolidated fund, contingency fund, and public account. Now, why I've made you underlined here this part, only this much in annual financial statement, is because, students, there are only two variety of questions that can be asked here. Either they might ask you, Article 112 states annual financial statement, public account, contingency fund, all these things. So Article 112 is annual financial statement. Or they might give you a question, which article speaks about annual financial statement? Article 103, 104, 111, 112. So 112 is the answer. And then this statement, why I made you underline, is three parts, because they might give you which among the following is not a part of annual financial statement. So you should know annual financial has three parts, that is consolidated fund, contingency fund, and public account. Okay, so these are the three parts. After this, if there is anything else, that is not a part of annual financial statement. So it has only three: consolidated, contingency, and public account, C, C, and P. Okay. Now let us come to consolidated fund, students. In consolidated funds, sir, what we should remember? Firstly, you should remember that this is the most important of all government funds. Okay, this is the most important of all the government funds. Why? Because, sir, where is the money coming from? What and all are there in consolidated fund, students? Where is the money coming from? From whom have we borrowed the money? Okay, whom are we giving the loans? All these things are put it in the consolidated fund. Everything. Okay, all the revenues raised by the government, money borrowed, okay, and from where are these loans receipts coming? All these things are put in the consolidated fund. Okay, now all the expenses of the government are also paid from this fund. All government expenses are also paid from this fund. And remember, no money can be withdrawn from this fund without Parliament's approval. This is very important. No money can be withdrawn from this fund without Parliament's approval. Now, why these three statements are important, students? Because they might give you a question, which of the following is not a function of consolidated fund? So you should know what are the functions or what are the things under consolidated fund. One is it raises all the revenues, okay, by the government, that is money borrowed, loans, and all that. Secondly, all the expenses of the government are paid by this fund. Number three, you cannot withdraw any money from this fund without the approval of the Parliament. So Parliament approval is required in order to withdraw money. So these are the 3 points, students, that you should know in consolidated fund. Next is demand for grants. Now, what is this demand for grants? Demand for grants means, students, okay, it is estimates of expenditure. Okay, demand for grants means it is estimates of expenditure. Now, everyone will give their expenditures. Okay, saying that, okay, railways will give, okay, textile industry will give, everybody will give their expenditure. We for us, yearly so much of expenses are there, so please give us money. But they will not give directly the money. Okay, it is voted upon in the Lok Sabha, and then it is submitted in pursuance of Article 113. So remember, Article 113 is for demand for grants. Before this, we saw Article 112. Okay, 112, that was for annual financial statement. Now we are looking at Article 113 for demand for grants. Now, demand for grants means asking for funds. Okay, but remember, everybody will not get the funds. It is and everybody, whatever they ask, they will not get it. Okay, it has to be voted upon in the Lok Sabha, and according to Article 113. That is the only thing you should remember in demand for grants. One is it is the grants are voted up in Lok Sabha, and one more is according to Article 113. These are the 2 things you need to know in demand for grants. Next is appropriation bill. Now, what is appropriation bill? In the previous part, students, here in consolidated fund, I told you no money can be withdrawn from the fund without Parliament's approval. That means if Parliament approves, we can withdraw. Okay, if Parliament approves, we can withdraw. So that is what it is saying. This appropriation bill says that appropriation bill gives the power to the government to withdraw from the consolidated fund. So actually there is no power to withdraw from, you cannot withdraw anytime, okay, without the approval. You need approval. Now who gives you the approval? The approval is given by this bill, the appropriation bill. Very important, students. So appropriation bill gives you the power to the government in order to withdraw funds from the consolidated fund. That's it. What is important here? Nothing else is important in appropriation bill. So the name itself tells it, appropriation bill, okay, gives you the approval. So remember, APPROVAL, approval, and APPRO, appropriation, okay, they have the same names. So appropriation bill gives you the approval to withdraw the funds from the consolidated fund. Next is finance bill. One more article you should remember. Okay, finance bill is article 110. Apart from that, you should remember the other name of it, that is money bill. So finance bill or money bill, students, is according to article 110. So finance bill or money bill is according to article 110. Remember that. Apart from this, sir, from finance or money bill, what we need to know? You need to know what is the function of this finance bill. What does this finance bill do? So remember, students, its duty is proposing new taxes, modifying existing taxes, and all these things, continuing the tax structures, okay, all these things. So what does the finance bill do? The finance bill, sir, is also called as money bill, and it's defined by article 110. Okay, all these taxation norms, bringing new taxes like this GST and all recently came in. Okay, these new taxes, if you want to modify the existing tax structure, the income tax structure, the corporate tax structure, so all these modifications, okay, and new taxes, this will come under finance bill. Now, one more important thing from this bill is, students, okay, this finance bill can be introduced only in Lok Sabha. Very important point, okay. Again, one more place where your question can come from. Okay, finance bill can be introduced only in Lok Sabha. In Rajya Sabha can be, students, but only for, they can tell what changes it can be done. What changes can be done, that Rajya Sabha tells. Okay, but otherwise it is introduced only in Lok Sabha, the finance bill. Okay, and apart from this, students, one more point is this bill, which in case it is coming to the Lok Sabha, it has to be passed by the parliament within 75 days of introduction. If not, the bill becomes void. Okay, the bill has to be passed by the parliament within 75 days of introduction. So remember a few things in finance bill, also called as money bill. Article 110 of the constitution, it is defined on. What does it do? Modifying tax structures, bringing new taxes, all these things. Then where is it introduced, sir? Only in the Lok Sabha. Amendments can be done by Rajya Sabha. Okay, and it has to be passed within 75 days of its introduction. Within 75 days of the introduction, this bill has to be passed. Next one, students, is the contingency fund. Let us see now what is contingency fund. Contingency fund is emergency fund, students. Just remember it that way. Contingency fund means emergency fund. Okay, urgent or unforeseen expenditure. Okay, now how much money does this fund have? This money has 500. This fund has 500 crores, students, and at the disposal of the president. So the government, in case they require, okay, the approval from the parliament should go in, and then it has to go to the president, and then the money will come. Okay, so remember, contingency fund is an emergency fund of 500 crores. Okay, and it has at whose disposal? The disposal is, it is at the disposal of the president. Okay, the president has to give an approval to it. Okay, after the approvals from parliament and all that. But remember, it is an emergency fund of 500 crores. Next, public account. Public account, students. Okay, what do you need to remember here? Government is merely it is there, and whenever you want it, you can withdraw it, okay, or after your retirement. So remember, public account is nothing but where the government is simply acting as a banker. Okay, government is simply acting as a banker. Okay, and remember here, this is very important. These funds do not belong to the government. That's why I said there will not be much government transactions here. This does not belong to the government. Why? This belongs to people like you and me, because we are working, okay, and the companies are also, hiring us, and we are getting money from there where we are parking it in PFs. Okay, so this money does not belong to the government. Okay, we can get it back whenever we want. Okay, see, that's what they've given there. They have to be paid back at some time to their rightful owners. Nothing else is required there. Next, revenue receipt or expenditure. What is this now? Let us see. Firstly, the word revenue. Now, revenue means, students, these do not entail sale or creation of assets. Because if assets are sold and if assets are brought, that will be capital expenditure, okay, and capital receipts. Revenue means all small money, students, usually coming from taxes. Okay, so remember, revenue means there is no sale or creation of assets. There is no sale or creation of assets. This is point number one that you should know. Okay, there is no sale or creating of assets. These are all small money, students. Which one? Taxes are the most important revenue here. Okay, and expenditure wise, salaries, subsidies, and interest payments. Remember the examples. Okay, where is the money coming from? Money is coming from taxes. Okay, receipts is money is coming from taxes. Where is the money going? Expenditure. So money is going to pay salaries, subsidies, and interest payments. Not for companies, this is for government. Okay, revenue, receipt, and expenditure. So revenue means, students, small items. Okay, 3 points to remember here. Do not entail sale or creation of assets. Doesn't come in selling or creating assets. Okay, on the receipt sides, we have taxes as the revenue. Okay, money coming in is from taxes. Where is the money going out? Expenditure. Expenditure is for salaries, subsidies, and interest payments. Next, capital expenditure. Capital expenditure. Let's see what we have in capital expenditure. Okay, let's see what we have in capital expenditure. Capital expenditure, all receipts and expenditure that liquidate or create an asset. Now, capital means creating an asset, or liquidating, that means selling an asset. That time there I told you not creating asset or not selling the asset. Here it is creating, buying the asset or selling an asset is capital. Or what will be the expenditure here? Expenditure will be government gives someone a loan. If the government gives someone a loan, that is called as a capital expenditure. Okay, not interest. Okay, but the loan itself, big money government is giving it to someone. Okay, so that becomes a capex or capital expenditure. Now, students, one more point very important here is, remember, consolidated fund is the key to the budget. Remember this point. Consolidated fund is the key to budget. So for example, they might give you a question. What is the key to budget? Okay, among the 4 options: public account, contingency fund. Okay, all these things. So remember, consolidated fund is the key to the budget. Next thing, what is important is here, the full form of DEA, students. They might ask you, what is DEA? So the full form is important. DEA means Department of Economic Affairs. DEA is Department of Economic Affairs. Remember? Now, students, these budgets that any government puts forth, it is not directly coming from the finance minister. The finance minister will consult many people, every state's organizations which are government oriented, every ministry and all that. Okay, and then the finance minister and other groups sit with every industries, also telecom industry, transport industry, automobile industry, banking industry, everyone. And finally, okay, what you need to know here is, The final call on tax proposals is taken by finance minister. After consulting everybody, the final call is taken by finance minister, and then the proposals are discussed with the prime minister before the budget is prepared. Okay, so remember that final call is taken by the finance committee and the finance minister, and then the proposals are discussed with the prime minister before the final budget is prepared. Now, next, students, what you should know here is the budget presentation speech. Now, sir, why we should know this? Because students, they might ask you a question which is not a part of budget presentation speech. Okay, so you should know which are the parts of budget, presentation speech. Whatever we studied till now, okay, most of it are a parts here. Annual financial statement, demand for grants, appropriation bill, finance bill we studied. Okay, macroeconomic framework for the relevant financial year, medium term fiscal policy, don't worry about fiscal policy, we will study expenditures, okay, that is profile and expenditure budget and receipts budget, where are you spending and where is the money coming from. So all this becomes a part of the budget presentation speech. So you should know, or they might simply give you questions like this. Okay, macroeconomic framework, medium term fiscal policy, appropriation bill, expenditure budget, these are the parts of what. So you should know these are the parts of the budget presentation speech. These are the parts of budget presentation speech. Next, revenue, capital and expenditure budgets. So students, here more than revenue, capital, expenditure budget, you should know what is revenue and what is capital. I already told you revenue means small items. Okay, capital means big items. So that is what we will know here in the entire chapter after this. Okay. So not much to understand, just a little bit. Revenue expense, if it is more than the receipts, definitely, you know, if expenses are more than incomes, it is not a profit, it is a loss. If it was a profit, we would call it surplus. But if revenue expenditure is more than that of the income, income means receipts, then it is called as revenue deficit. Okay, you have done this in your 12th standard accountancy, students. Okay, deficit and surplus. Okay, more money means surplus. If in case you're in a loss, that means deficit. So here revenue expense is more, that means expenditure is more than what you're receiving receipts, that means it is called as revenue deficit. Okay, now the revenue money which you can get from is only from tax revenues or non-tax revenues, either from tax or non-tax. Now tax revenues, students, can be classified as income tax, corporate tax, excise duty, custom duty and other duties if there are any. Okay, these are the different sources for getting tax money. Which are the different sources for getting tax money? Income tax, corporate tax, excise, customs and other duties in case there are any. Okay, non-tax revenues, how can we get non-tax revenues? Non-tax money can be collected from certain places, either interest on loans and dividends for public sectors. If in case you have given some loan to public sector, say for railways, and railways will repay back that loan to you, but while repaying they'll give you interest also, so that is a non-tax revenue. Okay, or other receipts for service renders. Next, capital budget has two things. One is loan from public and loan from RBI. I'm getting money from public, getting money from RBI. So that is called as capital receipts, receiving money from public, receiving money from RBI. So that is called as capital receipts, students. Next, these loans that you get from public, students, are also called as market loans because you're getting it from public. So it is called as market loans. Remember that. Next, remember this. Demand for grants of the central government is also a part of expenditure budget. Now, expenditure means how much you're spending. So that is not required to you. What is expenditure budget? What is required is here is to you, which is a part of expenditure budget. So remember, students, they might give you appropriation bill. They might give you a finance bill. They might give you annual financial statement and demand grants. Okay, and they might ask you which is the part of expenditure budget. So remember, demand for grants is the part of expenditure budget. Okay, demand for grants is a part of expenditure budget. Okay, apart from this, okay, here what do we have next that you should know? You should know this one here, students. Okay, that is revenue expenditure is also called as income statement expenditure. Revenue expenditure is also called as income statement expenditure. So that is what you should know here. Okay, revenue expenditure is also called as income statement expenditure. They might give you a question. Okay, blank is called as income statement expenditure, and there might be 4 options: revenue expenditure, revenue receipts, capital expenditure, capital receipts. So remember, these are all small things, students. If you go to study everything, it's too much. We are only revising now. Okay, while revising, just go through what is necessary, not everything. Okay, see, I have not given you this statement again because I don't want you to know again. I have already told you revenue receipts. I've told you 2 pages before. Revenue receipts means what? They are not creating an asset. So I don't want you to revise the same point again and again. Okay, that's why I've not made you underline those. I've gone through the entire material and just made important points that are required for your exams. Okay, you're not going to study everything once again. There is no point looking at everything. We have looked at everything when we did the chapter. Now its only thing is to go into the important points. Okay, next page. In this page, there is just one important point, students, that you should know. Okay, that is this. Some examples are given here, and you might get a same example, students. Okay, see, amount spent on construction of metro. So construction of metro, so much of huge amount is spent, no? Yes. And that is why it is not revenue expenditure, rather it is capital expenditure. Okay, amount spent on construction of metro is not revenue expenditure. Sir, if it is not revenue expenditure, then what is it? Students, it is creating an asset. Okay, construction of metro is creating an asset, and that is why it is capex. It is capital expenditure. Whereas payment of salaries, so payment of salaries is revenue expenditure. Payment of salaries is revenue expenditure. But amount spent on construction of a metro, this is not revenue expenditure. Now, why I made you underline this, students? Because here they might give you a question: which among the following is not a revenue expenditure? Okay, and they might give you 4 options. So big amounts, whichever is there. For example, amount spent on construction of metro means you're constructing a metro, you're constructing an asset there. So asset means capital expenditure, not revenue. Okay. Next, see, again, I'm not making you underline this point. Why? Because I've already told you this and made you underline before. The difference between revenue receipt and revenue expenditure is called revenue deficit. I've already told you that before. Okay. Whenever expenses are more than incomes, it is called as deficit and revenue deficit. Okay. Next, students, in this page, there is nothing here. Now, this is an important page, students. Okay. Because there are a lot of things, details you should remember here. Let's go through one by one. Okay. First, fiscal deficit. What is this fiscal deficit now? Fiscal deficit means, students, okay, fiscal deficit is a shortfall in the government's income compared with its spending. Fiscal deficit is a shortfall in government's income. Government is earning less and spending more. That's why it is called as deficit, no? And when government does it, it is called as fiscal. Or one more method is there of calculating also and of giving a definition also of fiscal deficit. That is this: fiscal deficit is a percentage of GDP. That is total dollars spent in excess of income. Both the things mean the same. Okay, fiscal deficit is calculated as a percentage of GDP. Okay, gross domestic product. Okay, that means how much you have spent based on your income. Your income is only 100 and you're spending 500. That means it's fiscal deficit. Okay. Now underline this one: income figures include only taxes and other revenues and exclude money borrowed to make up shortfall. Obviously, now see, Indian government doesn't have money and it is borrowing money from different institutions. Now that is not included in fiscal deficit. Okay, in fiscal deficit, only money which is come from taxes and other revenues is included. Okay, only from taxes, whatever money I've collected, or from this PF accounts and all that non-tax revenues, whatever money is coming in, only that I'm considering as my income. Okay. And then I'm calculating where and all I'm spending. I might have borrowed from IMF. Okay. I might have borrowed from different other institutions. Okay. I might have borrowed from the World Bank. Okay. I might have borrowed from other states by not giving their GST. All that is not included here. Okay. So excludes the money borrowed to make up the shortfall. Okay. Next, a recurring high fiscal deficit means the government has been spending beyond its means. A recurring highest fiscal deficit means the government is spending too much and it doesn't have control over its spending. Next, important point here is, students, you need to know this. You need to know all these things, because they might give you anything here. Okay, any question. For example, they might give you which among the following is a revenue receipt, and they might give you income tax, interest receipts, external grants, dividends and profits. Now you might think, so dividends and profits are little very less, no? So that might be a revenue receipt. No. Revenue receipts are from where are you getting the money from? Okay, that is tax revenues. Revenue receipts, these are only tax revenues, students. This revenue receipt means this one is from tax where you're making money. This is from non-tax. Dividend profits, external grants, other non-tax revenues, receipts from union territories. Remember this. Any question might be asked here. So you should know under each heading, which are the different things that come. Under each heading, which are the different things. All these you should know. Same way expenses, there is revenue expenditure. In revenue expenditure, we have, in government expenditure, we have revenue expenditure, capital expenditure, interest payments, and grant in aid for creation of capital assets. So many things are there. And also there is one formula here, students. So remember this formula. What is fiscal deficit? We already know what is fiscal deficit. Sir, how much has the government spent minus how much has the government received? How much has the government spent on big money and small money, capital and revenue? Okay. Minus how much has the government earned, either through revenue receipts, recovery of loans, or other receipts, whatever it is, what have they earned. So this is called as fiscal deficit. Now, next important part here, students, this we have seen in the class when we were doing, so that's not important. Some definitions are important here, students. What is RE? RE means revised estimates. Revised estimates means see, sports ministry might say we are planning to have 3 stadiums, we are planning to have, you know, good locker facilities in the stadiums. Okay, we are going to have day and night stadium floodlights to be put, so we require 700 crores. Okay, projected amounts. So revised estimates means projected amounts. Whereas at the end of the year, you might have done 3 and you might tell I require 700 crores, but end of the year, okay, next year when you are looking at the actual amounts, right, you might have not done 3 stadiums, you might have done only 2 stadiums, okay, and locker rooms and all you have done, but you couldn't put these day and night floodlight lights and all that stuff. So you might have spent only 500 crores. So that is called as the actual amount or audited accounts of expenditure and receipts in the year. So remember, revised estimates means projected amounts. Okay, how much you require until the end of the year. Actual amounts means these are the audited accounts. Okay, which shows how much you have spent in the year. Okay, so projected is revised. Okay, actual is audited. A and A, R and P. Now, fiscal deficit could be financed. Now, in case I have shortage of money here, I need to borrow money, no? From where will you borrow money? The government can borrow money from Reserve Bank of India. Okay. And this process, students, of borrowing money, see, for example, recently the government borrowed money from RBI. Okay, so this money, this process of borrowing money from RBI is called as deficit financing or money creation and market borrowing. Okay, this is known as deficit financing. Remember the word. If in case I have fiscal deficit and I cannot pay the money, what I will do is I will borrow it from Reserve Bank of India, and this process of borrowing money is called as deficit financing. Anybody, any doubts? Anyone, any doubts here in this particular chapter? No doubts, says Shraddha. No doubts, no clear, says Diksha. Okay, it's okay. Okay, great. Okay, students. So what we will do is I will be here, okay, online. Let's take a 2-minute break. I will just, shift my system to the other room and we will start with another chapter. Okay, next chapter. In case you have to grab some water, take a washroom break, take that. And if you have any doubts, please do ask also. I will be right here. I'll turn off the video, but the audio is on. Okay, in case you have any doubts, please ask me as soon as possible from this particular chapter. And if not, in another 1 minute, students, we will continue with the next chapter, that is chapter 4. It is a very lengthy chapter. Okay, the next chapter is very lengthy chapter. So in case you have to grab anything, grab that quickly. If you have any doubts, do ask me. Another 45 seconds and we start with the next chapter. Okay, let us continue. Financial markets. Now, when we talk about financial markets, students, we have a lot of things coming in our minds. Cooperative banks, mutual funds, insurances, non-banking financial institutes, NBFCs. Okay, yes, and that all comes together in this particular chapter. Sorry, I forgot about shares, debentures. Okay, what else we have? Preference shares, equity shares. Okay, so all these things come under this particular chapter. Okay, that is Indian financial markets. So let's start with this chapter. A lot of things to know in this particular chapter, but still I have tried to, reduce things that you have to study here. So let us see. Firstly, you need to know the important features of financial system. Okay. Why financial system or finances are important to a country. One is, students, it has a role in economic development of our country. It helps in investing as well as in savings. Then it connects the savers and investors. For example, I am saving money and there is one more fellow who wants to invest somewhere. So whatever money I save, bank takes it as a loan and gives it to these investors. And thus the capital is formed in the country. And thus this facilitates the expansion of the markets overall. So this is the important features of financial system. Now, students, certain important points that you need to remember, please underline, because there is a lot of theory in this chapter. So this becomes a crucial chapter for you to score marks. Okay, after that second chapter, this is also a crucial chapter. So underline first the banking regulator. You will see this point later also, but as of now, since we have found it in the first page, I've underlined it here. The banking regulator have allowed new entities such as payments bank. So they might give you which is the new entity in the banking system. Okay, is it cooperative bank, commercial bank, payment banks, all that. So you remember, payments bank is the new entity. Then this is important. What is the full form of NBFC? Non-banking financial companies. NBFC, non-banking financial companies. So this is also important. Next, here we go. There are some important things. Obviously, there are a lot of points, but only a few are important, students. Okay. One is, what is making India expand its semi-urban and rural markets? Okay. India's semi-urban and rural markets are, being captured today in finance. This is because of the financial inclusion drive. This is because of the financial inclusion drive from RBI. Okay, because of this, the urban, semi-urban and rural areas are also coming into the financial perspective because of this Jandan Yojana and all that. Okay, next, investment in insurance sector in India, it seems by 2025 it will touch 1 trillion US dollars, definitely. And that is why, some people say, that this pandemic was planned by big heads of the world and all that. So now you see, students, if in case that is true, that information is true, then you see, once the pandemic has hit, now people have become so health conscious that even those people who were thinking that no need of insurances and all that, okay, are creating insurances now. So if you see the rise of insurance before pandemic and after pandemic, you can see a huge increase, okay, in the investments in insurance sectors. Okay, so that is why, because Indian insurance sector is very low, and they're telling by 2025 it will touch 1 trillion US dollars. Okay, then next point that you should know is the full form of IPPB. IPPB means India Post Payments Bank. Okay, India Post Payments Bank. And why is it important? Because government has launched India Post Payments Bank to provide every district with one branch to help rural penetration. So government of India has done a very smart thing here, students. Okay, what they have done is, okay, since you know that post, nobody sends a post now, it is everybody sends emails. Okay, or there are gone are those days of telegram and postal service. Everybody messages through WhatsApp or calls or video calls and all that thing. So what the government has done is to enter the rural markets, rather than creating banks and again building so much of infrastructure, there is already this postals, okay, post offices. So that itself is converted into banks. Okay, and post offices are there in every nook and corner of the country, because before people used to write letters and the letters has to reach to the remotest villages. So there itself government has turned that into banks. Okay, Indian Post Payments Bank, okay, in every district with one branch at least, so that rural people also get into touch with banking system. Okay, and very important, students, Maharashtra has introduced or launched a mobile wallet facility allowing transferring of funds from other mobile wallets. Okay, Maharashtra is the first state to launch it. So remember, underline this, very important. Which is the first state to launch mobile wallet transfer? Okay, it is Maharashtra. And what is Maharashtra done first? Mobile wallet facility. What is this mobile wallet facility? Maybe you have a Paytm account and you have 100 rupees in that. Maybe you have Phone Pay account. Maybe you have 300 rupees in that. Maybe you have Airtel Bank's account, one more wallet payment, or MobiKwik. In that you have 200 rupees. So now you want to transfer your MobiKwik amount to Paytm account. Okay, or MobiKwik amount you want to transfer it to a Phone Pay account. Okay, or Paytm amount you can transfer it to your pay, your money itself from Paytm account you can transfer it to MobiKwik or to Phone Pay account. This can be done. Okay, that is what it is called as mobile wallet facility, transferring funds from other mobile wallets. Okay, and Maharashtra state is the first to launch it. So these are the points that you need to remember here. Let's move into the next slide. Now, what is important in the next slide, sir? Next slide, students, here. In India, RBI is the apex banking institution. The top banking institution that regulates the monetary policy of a country, students, is called as Reserve Bank of India, RBI. And the banks are further classified into 4 types. This is important because they might give you which one is not a type. So for that, you should know which are the types of banks. There are commercial banks, small finance banks, payment banks, and cooperative banks. These are the 4 different types of banks, students. Commercial banks, small finance banks, payment banks, and cooperative banks. And about this we already saw, this was the new entity. Okay, payments bank was the new concept. Okay, this was the new entity, payments bank. Rest all the things were there from before itself: commercial, small finance, payments, and cooperative. Or they might simply give you a question like this. Okay, commercial bank, small finance bank, payment bank, cooperative banks. Okay, in this, which of the following is the new entity of banks? Okay, so new entity of banks is payment banks. Remember that. Okay. Moving further, next, in commercial banks, what is important? Firstly, commercial banks, students, are classified into the following. Commercial banks can be classified as public sector, private sector, foreign, RRB, regional rural bank. So in commercial banks, we have 4 types: public, private, foreign, RRBs. 4 types are there, students. Remember that. Apart from this, a fairly new structure is called payments bank. I have already told you. Commercial banks are regulated under BRA 1949, Banking Regulation Act of 1949, students. Commercial banks are regulated under Banking Regulation Act of 1949. Remember, obviously, all the banks come under RBI Act also, because RBI Act is also there, because of which RBI is there. Okay, apart from that, students, commercial banks are mainly coming under which act? Banking Regulation Act, which is of 1949, Remember that act. Next, what is a foreign bank? Now we should know what is a foreign bank. A foreign bank is the one who has its headquarters in the foreign country but operates in India as a private entity. Has its headquarters abroad but operates in India as a private bank. Now the problem with foreign bank, students, they have to follow rules and regulations of 2 countries. One is wherever they are from. If they are from China, they'll have to follow the rules and regulations of China. If they are operating in our country, they'll have to follow the rules of our country also. If they're from Hong Kong, they'll have to follow the rules of Hong Kong, and they'll have to follow the rules of India also, because they're existing in India. Next, RRBs. What are these RRBs now? Regional rural banks. Okay. Regional rural bank, students, their main objective is to provide credit to weaker sections of the society, like laborers of agricultural, farmers, and small enterprises. Okay, small enterprises, laborers, farmers, for all these things. So weaker section of the society. So they might give you a question, students, okay, whose main objective is to provide credit to weaker sections of the society. Okay, it is regional rural banks. They provide help or money, credit to weaker sections of the society. Next, small finance banks. What do these small finance banks do? Especially students now, small finance banks are niche banking. Niche means very concentrating, very small, concentrating on something specific. Okay, niche means small and specific. So firstly, students, from small finance bank, what you should know is this one. They provide money to whom? Micro industries, small and marginal farmers. Micro industries. Micro means very small industries. Okay. And next important thing is, where are they licensed under? Remember, every bank is licensed under Banking Regulation Act. Okay. But small finance bank is under Banking Regulation Act. Which section? Section 22. There is a specific section for it. Then also governed by RBI Act, which I told you every bank comes in, and also FEMA, students. Also FEMA. Okay. So Banking Regulation Act, RBI, and FEMA. These three things. And Banking Regulation Act, which section? Because they might give you small finance banks are licensed under Banking Regulation Act under which section? Shouldn't forget, it's section 22. Okay, section 22. Crucial information. When you keep on reading everything, all these things you don't remember, students. Rather, in case you have made points like this and understood, it is very easy. You can go through one chapter within 20 minutes. Okay, one chapter within 20 minutes. So 5 chapters will hardly take you 100 minutes. Within 2 hours, your CSEET economics revision will be done when you sit alone one day before the exam or 2 hours before the exam. Okay. Next, payments bank. I already told you it is a new one. But the problem here is they are allowed to accept a restricted deposit. Don't worry, I will come to that later. Now, which are the different payment banks in India? We have India Post Payments Bank, Fino Payments Bank, Paytm Payments Bank, Airtel Payments Bank. You need to remember. Okay, they might ask you which of the following is a payment bank, or any of the question which of the following is not a payment bank. So people usually don't forget Paytm and Airtel. They also don't forget India Post. They forget this Fino Payments Bank. Okay, so remember, Fino Payments Bank is also a payment bank itself. So don't forget that name. Okay, now I told you about Payments Bank, a few things that you should know. Okay, because they're the new entity, so the question will be coming from them itself. Okay, one is, see here, what is this? No, they cannot provide loans. Next, what is this? No, they cannot issue credit cards. Who? Payment banks. They can't provide loan. They can't issue credit card. Next, what they can't do? Deposit. I told you, they have a restricted deposit. Rupees 1 lakh only per individual customer. Only 1 lakh rupees per individual customer. Not more than that. Okay. Per customer, only 1 lakh rupees they can accept. The maximum deposit. Not more than that they can do. Okay. So these are the things of Payments Bank that you need to remember. Next, certain dates, certain things here, important things you should know. We will come to know about this later also, but here just underline. Okay, RBI was established as the central bank of the country in 1935. Imperial Bank's role came to an end because before Imperial Bank was acting as central bank, once RBI was established, their role came to an end. And Imperial Bank was converted to State Bank of India. As of now, just remember that Imperial Bank was converted to State Bank of India. When, sir? All that we will see later. Next, nationalization happened of how many banks? 14 banks in 1969 and 6 banks in 1980. Nationalization of 14 commercial banks in 1969 and 6 commercial banks in 1980. Next, very important information, these two here. In 2003, Kotak Mahindra Finance Limited, KMFC, KMFL, sorry, Kotak Mahindra Finance, KMF Limited, okay, in 2003, this was the first NBFC, non-banking financial company, which was converted into a bank in 2003. Very important. Kotak Mahindra Finance Limited in 2003. This was the first NBFC which was converted into a bank. The first non-banking financial company which was converted into a bank, Kotak Mahindra, and today it has become a huge branch, a huge bank. Okay, Kotak Mahindra Finance Limited, 2003. In 2009, government removed the banking cash transaction tax, which was introduced in 2005. 2005 it was introduced, 2009 it was removed. What was removed? Banking cash transaction tax. Remember that. Next important thing. As of now, students, as of today, our country has only 12 public sector banks. As of today, our country has only 12 public sector banks. Bank of India and Central Bank of India are still independent. Bank of India and Central Bank of India are still independent. The rest everything is merged here and there. Next important point. As of September 2018, Ministry of Finance, Government of India launched Financial Inclusion Index. And what is this Financial Inclusion Index? This will measure access, usage, and quality to financial services. Okay. What is this? Called Financial Inclusion Index, which will measure the usage, quality, and access of financial services. Who introduced this? Ministry of Finance. Which year? September 2018. As of September 2018, students, okay, as of September 2018, one more thing was introduced, that is Jan Dhan Darshak. Okay, Jan Dhan Darshak was introduced. What is this, sir? This is again a financial inclusion initiative only, but what is this specifically? It is a mobile app to help people locate financial service in India. So if you on that app, you will know where are the different banks, where are cooperative banks, where are commercial banks, where are the RRBs. You will come to know everything. Where are the financial services located in India to help people. Jan Dhan Darshak, September 2018. Who launched it? Again, 3 institute bodies came together to launch it. Ministry of Finance, Department of Financial Services, and National Informatics Center. Department of Financial Services, Ministry of Finance, National Informatics Center. Okay, these 3 came together and launched Jan Dhan Darshak. Next, to sell insurance, okay, to sell insurance, Bank of Maharashtra tied up with Cigna TTK, a company. Why? To market their insurance products in India. Same way, students, Flipkart is also tied up with whom? Oh, I forgot. Flipkart is tied up with Bajaj Alliance, I guess. Okay, to sell insurances. So understand this. Even this cars or mobiles, some of the mobile companies are tied up with this, and cars are tied up with ACO Insurance, ACKO. Okay, companies. Same way. Okay, so Bank of Maharashtra tied up with Cigna TTK. Remember this because they might give you a question. Okay, Bank of Maharashtra tied up with which company? So it is Bank of Maharashtra tied up with Cigna TTK to market their insurance products across India. Next, mutual funds. Let us see. Mutual funds are subject to market risk. Please read the scheme information document carefully before investing. Okay, that's what people say. And now there are new ads coming in. Mutual fund sahi hai. Okay, so mutual fund is an investment security that enables investors to pool their money together into one professionally managed investment rather than going to different stocks, different shares and losing your money. Okay, you just put the money in one pool. Okay, and then the investment fund managers will take care of it. Now here, very important things to know, students. Firstly, mutual fund industry in India started in 1963 with the formation of UTI. Mutual fund industry started in India in which year? In 1963 with the formation of UTI. Next, Unit Scheme 1964. US 64 was the first scheme launched by UTI. Okay, which was the first scheme launched by UTI? US 64. Okay, US 64. Unit Scheme 1964. Next, SBI Mutual Fund was the first non-UTI mutual fund established in June 1987. SBI Mutual Fund was the first non-UTI mutual fund established in June 1987. Next point, students. Finally, students, understand from when? From, sir, 1963, sir, when mutual fund industry started with UTI up to 1993, students. Okay, up to 1993. Okay, UTI itself is to take care. But in 1993, the first set of SEBI mutual fund regulations came in for all mutual funds. 1993. And thus, students, the first private sector mutual fund was registered in July 1993 by Kothari Pioneer. Okay, now they have merged with Franklin Templeton, but these were the first private sector mutual fund registered in July 1993. So remember, okay, there are different things you should remember in this page, students. Once again, let us recall. Mutual fund industry was started in 1963, sir. Okay, with the formation of UTI. Okay, and the first scheme launched by UTI was US 64. Okay, non-UTI first mutual fund was SBI Mutual Fund. Okay, non-UTI, whereas the first private sector mutual fund was Kothari Pioneer, which is now merged with Franklin Templeton. So remember this: first non-UTI SBI, first UTI US 64. Okay, that is unit scheme, and first private sector mutual fund is Kothari Pioneer. Remember these different names. Okay, nothing much in this particular page. Nothing much here. It is all details of how many things are there, what is there, and all that. All that is not required for you students. Okay, simply don't break your head into all those things. Okay, here we have the insurance industry of India consists of 57 insurance companies, 24 are life insurance, 33 are non-life insurance. In this, LIC is the only public sector company which is presently slowly going into private. But for your exam perspective, please remember LIC is the sole public sector company. And there are 57 insurance companies, 24 life, 33 non-life. Next point. The government of India has taken a number of initiatives to boost the insurance industry. Which are the different schemes government has done? Let us see. Firstly, Ayushman Bharat. Ayushman Bharat, which provides coverage to rupees 5 lakhs rupees for 100 million families, it seems. Okay, and this was when September 2018, National Health Protection Scheme. Okay, so you might get a question. Ayushman Bharat, okay, in India is called as what? National Health Protection Scheme, National Farmer Protection Scheme, Accident Coverage Scheme. All these options might come, students. So remember, Health Protection Scheme, National Health Protection Scheme, NHPS. Okay, National Health Protection Scheme is called as Ayushman Bharat, which provides coverage up to rupees 5 lakhs. Then for the farmers, there's one more, which is called as Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. Okay, for the farmers, there is one more scheme called as Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. Then, whenever any companies come into the market and they launch new IPOs, okay, that means they are going to offer their shares in the market, which is called as initial public offering, IPOs. Okay, the government issues guidelines. Now, who issues these guidelines? These guidelines are redesigned by IRDAI, Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority of India. So students, these are the ones who take care of insurances. Okay, and these are the ones who keep changing the guidelines time by time. So as of now also, when everybody had an insurance but they didn't have a COVID coverage, okay, IRDAI said that no matter if they have covered COVID or no, because COVID was not a disease before, but now since it's a disease, please cover it on the existing insurances also. So IRDAI has the authority to issue and change the guidelines every now and then. Okay, next. Some major events to remember, students. All life insurance companies were nationalized to form LIC in 1956, so that there should be no any mismanagement. Okay, all life insurance companies were nationalized together. They were called as Life Insurance Corporation in 1956. The non-life insurance which was there, okay, was called as GIC, General Insurances, in 1972. Now, very important is who opened this insurance sector to private players. Now, this insurance sector to private players was opened by the recommendation of Malhotra Committee. So Malhotra Committee, students, Malhotra Committee, okay, recommended opening up the insurance sector to the private players. Opening up the insurance sector to the private players. Next, in 2015, government introduced Pradhan Mantri Suraksha Bima Yojana and Pradhan Mantri Jeevan Bima Yojana. Remember the name of the schemes. Okay, they might simply ask you which were the schemes introduced in 2015. So Pradhan Mantri Suraksha Bima Yojana and Pradhan Mantri Jeevan Jyoti Bima Yojana. Again, health insurance and Atal Pension Yojana was also established in the same year, 2015. The next one, Ayushman Bharat, we have already seen and we have already underlined. Okay, here it is. In October 2018, Indian e-commerce major Flipkart entered insurance space in partnership with Bajaj Alliance to give mobile insurance. So Flipkart entered with Bajaj Alliance, okay, to give which insurance? Mobile insurance, remember, October 2018. Next. In September 2018, IPPB, that is Indian Post Payments Bank Service, even they partnered with Bajaj Alliance. Why? To distribute their products. Whatever products they had, in order to, sell it, in order to market it, even they tied up with Bajaj Alliance. Next, very important. In September 2018, HDFC Ergo launched E@Secure, a cybercrime insurance policy, to protect against cyber crimes and cyber thefts. Okay, in September 2018, HDFC Ergo launched E@Secure, a cyber insurance policy. Very important, students, the name E@Secure, who launched Cyber Ergo, okay, for what purpose? Cyber insurance for individuals. Very important. Next, In 2019 Jan, a online insurance platform, okay, Turtle Mint has raised 25 million US dollars in funding. So they might give you which is the online insurance platform that has raised 25 million US dollars. Turtle Mint, online insurance distribution platform. It is same like that of Policy Bazaar and all we have, no, same way. Okay, Turtle Mint. HDFC is also in talks to acquire which institute? Apollo Munich Health Insurance Institute. They're in talks to acquire was the news. Okay. So HDFC ergo Apollo Munich Health Insurance. Okay. They are planning to acquire that. Next, important students, in case you need to take a break of a minute, take a break of a minute. We have finished with the insurance sector, students, and now we are entering into the banking sector of public and private sector banks. Till here, anybody, any doubts? Students, any doubts till here? Please ask me if you have doubts. If you have any doubts. No, sir, clear. Okay, Rushita, in order to remember years, you have to make a list of all the years, starting from the lowest to the highest and memorize. That is how we do, right? That is how I used to do in social science also from 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th standard. The same logic. Okay, we need to do a historical, chronological order graph. Okay, in 1950, what happened? 1951, 52. So whichever years are there, write it in order. Okay, and in order you study so that you remember. Memorization, as I was telling you yesterday also, there are three parts, right? Memorization, application. So all these years question and who launched what, tie-ups with what, these are all questions based on memory. So you should remember it, by heart it. Okay, the years. Okay, moving further. Public sector banks. There were three banks, students: Bank of Bengal, Bombay, Madras. All these three came together and merged, called as Imperial Bank. And later, Imperial Bank was turned to State Bank of India. We saw it that time, but in which year we did not know. Now we know, in 1955. So Bank of Bengal, Bombay, Madras. Three banks came together and became Imperial Bank. And Imperial Bank was later taken over by State Bank of India in the year 1955. RBI was established 1st April 1935. Okay, this point we have already seen. Now, this date is very important. July 19, 1969. Why? This was the date, students. That time we saw 14 major banks were scheduled, commercial banks were done. Okay, but we didn't know the date. Now we know the date. July 19, 1969. This was the day when 14 major banks, okay, commercial banks, were nationalized. And what was the criteria for their nationalization? The criteria for the nationalization was they should have a deposit of more than INR 50 crores. That is more than 50 crore Indian national rupees. If they had deposits worth 50 crores rupees or more, okay, then those banks were nationalized. So in this way, 14 banks were nationalized. Students, now here they have given you the names of those 14 banks. See, you need to remember these. Why, you know? See, the reason why they could have just given you 14 banks, the reason why they have given you these 14 banks is maybe, students, there is a specific reason. They might give you a question here. They might give you 4 banks and they might tell you which of the following is not a bank which was nationalized. Okay. So you should know which were the 14 banks nationalized. Because why you know this 14 banks have given? Because later, no students, after some years, okay, in the second wave, again 6 banks were nationalized. See here. Andhra Bank, Corporation Bank, New Bank of India, Oriental Bank of Commerce, Punjab and Sindh Bank, and Vijaya Bank. Now the question for you might be like this. Which of the following bank was merged in the, which of the following bank was nationalized in the second wave? And you might get an option: Indian Overseas Bank, Bank of Baroda, Dena Bank, and Corporation Bank. So you might think, sir, Dena Bank, Corporation Bank, then Indian Overseas Bank, all these banks are nationalized only, But in the second wave, which one? In the second one, it's Corporation Bank. Okay. In the first wave, the other banks, that is Central Bank of India, Bank of Maharashtra, Dena Bank, Punjab National Bank, Syndicate Bank. So this is how you will lose marks, students, sometimes. So remember the 14 banks which were nationalized, remember those. 6 banks which were separately, remember those. If you would ask me, I would remember the 6 banks which were nationalized, because then I will know that out of this 6, if they are not there, that means they are in the remaining 14. Okay, so Andhra Bank, Corporation Bank, New Bank of India, Oriental Bank of Commerce, Punjab and Sindh Bank, Vijaya Bank. These were the 6 nationalized bank in the second wave. In the first wave, there were 14. That is when in 1969, July 19th. Okay, but the second wave happened when, students? In 1980 April. And what was the condition that time? First wave, the condition was 50 crores. Second wave, the condition was 200 crores and above. Next, remember the full form of CASA. Remember the full form of CASA. CASA, CASA, means current account and savings account. CASA means current account and savings account. CASA. Next. Now, students, we know that most of the mergers are also happened now. So which is the largest merger in that? Underline. The largest merger is Punjab National Bank and Oriental Bank of Commerce. This, since it has happened recently, there might be a question from this part, students. Okay, there might be a question from this part. Very important. Okay, so the largest merger announced is of Punjab National Bank and Oriental Bank of Commerce and United Bank. These 3 banks will come together: Punjab National Bank, Oriental Bank of Commerce, as well as United Bank. And these 3 together will be called as Punjab National Bank itself. It will be called as PNB itself. Okay, Punjab National Bank. And remember, this will be the second largest bank in India. This is the second largest bank in India. Now you might ask, sir, which is the first largest? First largest, State Bank of India. Okay, first largest is the State Bank of India. Second largest, students, is Punjab National Bank after merging with Oriental Bank of Commerce and United Bank. Then one more merger is this one, students: Canara Bank and Syndicate Bank. Canara Bank and Syndicate Bank. This is second merger which is announced, and this will be called as the 4th largest bank. Okay, Canara Bank and Syndicate Bank. So remember the mergers. Okay, they might ask you which bank is merged properly among the following, and they might give you one odd man out. One more merger is Indian Bank and Allahabad Bank. Indian Bank and Allahabad Bank. Okay, so these are the different mergers: Canara Bank and Syndicate Bank, Punjab National Bank with Oriental Bank of Commerce and United Bank. Then there is Indian Bank and Allahabad Bank. One more is, I think, Bank of Baroda, Vijaya Bank, right? Okay, that's one more. Okay, but don't worry, you don't have that. Whatever you have, just go through only that. Next, students, private banks. Now, about private banks, what you should know is there are 2 types of private banks, students. One is old private banks and one more is new private banks. You need to remember this. Why? Because there might be a question: which of the following is an old private bank? So you should know the names of old and new private banks. That is why they have given. Otherwise, they might have simply given you there are 12 old private banks and there are, 6 or 7 new private banks. But they have given you the names. That means you can expect a question from here. So Catholic Syrian Bank, City Union Bank, Dhanalakshmi, Federal, Jammu Kashmir Bank, Karnataka Bank, Karur Vaisya, Lakshmi Vilas Bank, Nainital Bank, Ratnakar Bank, South India Bank, Tamil Nadu Mercantile Bank. All these are old private banks. All these are old private banks, and there are 12. Out of this, students, this Nainital Bank is there, no? This one. Okay, this is a subsidiary, a part of Bank of Baroda itself. Why? Almost 98.5% stake is of Bank of Baroda. Okay, so Nainital Bank is a subsidiary of Bank of Baroda, but still these are all old private sector banks. So remember this. So they might give you which is the subsidiary of Bank of Baroda. Okay, they might give you options like Lakshmi Vilas Bank, Dhanlakshmi Bank, Federal Bank, Nainital Bank. So remember, Nainital Bank is a subsidiary of Bank of Baroda. Now, same way there are new private sector banks. New private sector banks came in the year 1993, students. Okay, if you remember the year, no, you will not go. Kotak Mahindra, Yes Bank, IDFC, and Bandhan Bank. Okay, these are the banks. These are the banks which are the new private banks. And remember, students, new or old, everything are commercial banks itself. Okay, so these are the new banks which came in 1993, after 1993. Now, there are some small banks also. Okay, small private banks which are there in small, which help small business units and all that. Okay, so there are many in that: Ujjivan, Jana, Equitas, okay, AU, Capital, Fincare, ESAF, Northeast, Suryodaya, and Utkarsh. Okay, there are so many small finance banks also. Remember the name, student. Obviously you have to, you cannot do anything else. You have to remember the names of these. Okay, the different banks that are there. Okay, now next. Almost every reform is born out of crisis. Here what is important is the balance of payments crisis in 1991 forced the government to dismantle license Raj, because there was a big problem of licenses. So balance of payment crisis led to what? Led to removing this license permit Raj. And then the Manmohan Singh, as the finance minister under Prime Minister Narasimha Rao's direction, and Rangarajan as governor, began a new monetary structure. Okay, in 1991, the new fiscal policy which came in: LPG, liberalization, privatization, globalization. Okay, the new monetary structure was framed under 3 different people, students. About any 3 people they might ask you. Prime Minister was Narasimha Rao, Governor of RBI was Rangarajan, okay, and the finance minister was the ex-prime minister of our country, Manmohan Singh. Okay, so these 3 things you should remember here. New monetary structure in the year 1991 by 3 people: Rangarajan, RBI governor; Prime Minister Narasimha Rao; Finance Minister Manmohan Singh. Okay, moving further. Next. Okay, am I audible to you guys? Because some of them have messaged me saying not audible. Please check your audio system, students, or check your internet in case I'm not audible to you. My internet is pretty clear. Okay, let's move forward. The last part of banking comes here. So students, remember one of the biggest fraud of non-banking companies. Okay, non-banking companies fraud example is CRB Finance. Okay, they might ask you a question, which is the non-banking finance company fraud. Okay, CRB Financial, which is given in the textbooks here. Okay, it's very important, students, because they might ask you questions from any nook and corner of the textbook. Okay, now, so government did not give licenses to all these new banks which came in, students. Rather, even if they had given, no, they came up with frauds. They couldn't manage banking. They didn't know how to run a bank itself, and that is why government in later said you merge with somebody else. Okay, and that is why students, this Global Trust Bank, this was one of the first bank to come in a scandal. Okay, this was one of the first banks. So non-banking CRB Financial, in banking Global Trust Bank was the first one to come into a scam or a scandal. Okay, and that is why students, later it was merged with Oriental Bank of Commerce in 2004. This Global Trust Bank was merged with Oriental Bank, and same way Centurion Bank of Punjab, Times Bank, these all small banks who didn't know how to run, these were merged with HDFC Bank. Okay, Centurion Bank of Punjab and Times Bank, these were merged with HDFC Bank. Next, we're into the next part, students, that is IFCI and Small Industries Development Bank of India. We're into the next part now. Okay, there are a lot of theory here you can see, but don't worry, I will underline only what is necessary here. So firstly, what is important is this one. IFCI was started in July 1st, 1948 by IFC Act. IFC is nothing but Industrial Finance Corporation of India, to help the industries, to help the development of industries in our country. Okay, Industrial Finance Corporation of India on July 1, 1948. And what was its main aim? It was the first development financial institution of our country. It was set up to help the economic growth. How? By developing the infrastructure and industries. The name itself says Industrial Finance Corporation. That means to give finance to industries and infrastructure. Now, students, even though the government started it, they required money. Okay, and in 1948, where India just got independence, we did not have money to fund this institute, and that is why IFCI later changed its statutes to Indian Financial Corporation of India, Industrial Financial Corporation of India Limited. It changed to IFCI Limited from October 1999 as per the Indian Companies Act. As per the Indian Companies Act, IFCI Limited in 1999. Next, students, there are a lot of things here, but what you should know, but what you should know is only this much. There are some products of IFCI which you don't require much. Okay, here you should remember only this. IFCI, okay, I've already made you underline this, so you need not underline it again. I've already told you this. IFCI has established Industrial Financial Corporation of India on July 1st, 1948, first development financial institution of the country. We already know it. Okay, so you need not underline it again. Okay, and from project finance, corporate financing, all this, you do not need anything. Okay, from here, what is important is just a bit, only this one, the full form of SIDBI. Small Industries Development Bank of India, SIDBI. Remember the full form, and remember when it was started and by which act. Okay, it was started 2nd April 1990 under the Act of Indian Parliament, and it acts as the principal finance institution for what? For promotion, finance, and all these things. For whom? The name is here only, small industries. That means for MSMEs. Okay, so SIDBI, Small Industries Development of Bank of India, started 2nd April 1990. Okay, under the Act of Indian Parliament, helping whom? Helping MSMEs. Okay, helping MSMEs. Next, here, this slide is important. This page is important, students. Here, there are certain things. There are a lot of dates, but a few dates are very important. One is this small industries. They started helping they started helping small businesses by venture capital business. Okay, and this was started in the year 1999, venture capitals. Then they started giving ratings to these small scale industries. Okay, and they started a separate fund, company for that called Smera Ratings Limited in 2005. Smera Ratings Limited. Then for asset reconstruction, for the development, they helped also. And they started with ISARC, India SME Asset Reconstruction Company in 2008. Then we know about Mudra loans. Okay, that Mudra agency was also set up in 2015. All these years are very important. Then certified credit counselor to give loans and to help people. 2017 it was started. And they launched another thing to help people called MSME Pulse, to know the pulse of the people, to know what kind of business they are interested in, and also to give them, crisis solutions. They launched MSME Pulse and Cseet in 2018. All these years, and the things what are launched are important. They might give you 2005 what was launched, or they might give you all four things, and they might tell you which year and which company is not matching. Okay, so Smera Ratings Limited 2005, Venture Capital 1999, Asset Reconstruction 2008, Mudra 2015, CCC 2017, and MSME Pulse and SIDEX is 2018. The dates are important, students. Okay, make note of these dates. Make a list of all the dates that you know, which year what was started, and memorize it. Okay, I'm not telling you that everywhere they will ask dates, but one or two dates they will ask you in the entire set of questions, which you get 30-35 questions. Okay, there might be questions with one or two dates, not more than that. If you are ready to give up on the dates and miss those 2 marks, then don't study the dates, but back of your mind, at least go through it, because there you might get a question and you might know the answer also if you have gone through. Now, next, students, very important. RRBs were established based on which ordinance? Passed on 26th September according to RRB Act. Why is this RRB, sir? RRB is to provide banking and credit facility for agriculturists. Okay, very important part is the next one, students. There are 5 regional rural banks which were set up on 2nd October 1975, Gandhi Jayanti. Okay, 5 regional rural banks. Okay, and these were set up on the recommendations of Narasimham committee. The committee names are important, students. Why? Before this, there was one more committee which we saw. Which committee was that, and for what? Anybody who can tell me in the chat box? This is, yes, very good, Malhotra committee. For what was that Malhotra committee? What was the Malhotra committee for? Private player in insurances. Very good. It was for insurance sector, sir, for allowing private players in insurance. And which was the first company after that to come in? Okay, that was not mentioned, sir. Anyways, but you remember at least. Okay, good. Malhotra committee. Okay, private player in insurance. Okay, if in case we have to go back to that information, where was that? Oh, I can't find the page number. Anybody, what page number was it? Here. Malhotra committee recommended opening up insurance sector to private players. Okay, here it is. Okay, this is insurance to private players, Malhotra committee. And now we are looking at this information here, students. Okay, where is it? Here. Okay, Narsimham committee. Okay, this was for regional rural banks. Okay, this was for regional rural banks, remember. And also remember here, the first RRB, the Prathama Bank was started in the year 1975 at Moradabad, UP. Head office was at Moradabad, UP. Know that, students. First RRB, Prathama Bank. Okay, name itself is easy. First RRB, no? So first means Prathama, sir. Okay, so Prathama RRB. Okay, the first RRB was called Prathama Bank. Head office was at Moradabad, UP. And also remember this one, students. One more RRB was Malda, West Bengal. It was set up in Malda, West Bengal, which was known as Gaur Grameen Bank, and this was the first RRB in the eastern region of India. This was the first RRB, regional rural bank in the eastern region of India. So students, note both these things, very important. Firstly, RRB was set up based on the Narsimham Working Committee. Okay, Narsimham Working Committee under Indira Gandhi's time in 1975. There were 5 regional rural banks started on Gandhi Jayanti. Okay, the first RRB was Prathama Bank. Head office was in Moradabad, UP. Okay, and one more was in Gaur Grameen Bank. The name, okay, was in Malda, West Bengal, and this was the first RRB in the eastern region of our country. Okay, in the eastern region of our country. Next is cooperative banks. There is not much to be known, students, only a few things. Just underline, cooperative banking in India is federal in structure. That means proper structure is there, students. Okay, for cooperative banks also, not just because it's cooperative rural, that doesn't mean it is just left out. No. Okay, it has a good proper structure, and primary credit societies are in the lowest rank. Okay, so in cooperative we have state cooperative, district cooperative, all these things, no? So in the lowest level there are primary credit societies. Remember this. Okay, so if they ask you in the structure of cooperative banking who is at the lowest level, it is primary credit societies. They are at the lowest level. Okay, next, history of cooperative banking. In this you should know only few things, don't worry. One is this Cooperative Societies Act 1904. Next, NBFCs. Okay, in NBFCs you have a few things to be known. One, a non-banking financial company, company registered under Companies Act 1956. Okay, NBFC is registered under Companies Act of 1956. What does it do? It gives loans, sir, advances, stocks, shares, all these things. Okay, now what are some things you should know about NBFC, students? You should know certain things about NBFCs. One is they cannot accept demand deposits. Next is they cannot issue checks on their own. And finally, deposit insurance facilities and credit guarantee corporation is not available. In case your deposits go, it's gone. If the bank is closed tomorrow and your deposits are there in that, you can't go and ask, please give my money back. There is no deposit insurance. Whereas even in the normal banks also, if you deposit 15-20 lakhs and the bank gets closed, you will not get all your 15-20 lakhs. Okay, the insurance is how much? Around 1 or 2 lakhs, I guess. Okay, insurance is worth that much only. Okay, but still in NBFCs you don't have that also. Next, from NBFC students, there are a lot of NBFCs and a lot of confusions are created here, but you need not know everything, only a few things. First, you should know first type of NBFC, that is asset finance company. Asset finance, the name itself tells you, students, AFC is what they provide finance in order to purchase assets. Okay, in order to purchase assets, they give you finance. Assets like automobiles, tractors, generators, all this for the micro small businesses students. Okay, NBFCs usually help them itself. Okay, or industrial sectors. So for them, okay, to buy assets, these provide finance. Okay, and how much percent? Almost up to 60%, not less than 60% of the total assets. Next is investment company. Investment company is financial institution carrying on its principal business to acquisition of securities. For example, I am an investment company, NBFC. What I do is, your business is looking interesting to me, so I will invest in your business. I will invest in your stocks and shares. I will purchase. I will have a stake, okay, of 20-25%. So this is called investment company. Next, students, there are so many, but all these are not required to you. This is important. Infrastructure finance company. Infrastructure finance company means, students, okay, IFC is a non-banking company. What happens in this? At least 75% of its total assets come in infrastructure loans. They have a minimum net owned of funds of 300 crores. And they have a minimum credit rating of A or equivalent and a CRR credit rating of 15%. Now you might ask me, sir, why is this information important? Because students, they might give you which of the following, okay, is the function, not function, which of the following is, the infrastructure finance company's function. Okay, or what according to NBFC is an infrastructure finance company. So in order to be an infrastructure finance company, there are certain conditions to be satisfied. One is 75% minimum of its assets should be in infrastructure loans. Secondly, their net owned funds, their own funds should be around 300 crores. They should have a A rating, okay, in credit, and their CRAR should be 50. These are the minimum things for infrastructure finance company. Next, only this is important here. NOFHC. This type of company is important. So why is this company important? Because this is an NBFC, students, which will help promoters come together and open a new bank. Okay, and that is why NOFHC is important, because they might give you which type of NBFC helps you to set up a new bank. Okay, which type of NBFC helps you set up a new bank. So new bank is set up by which NBFC? By NOFHC, that is non-operative financial holding company. Okay, this financial institution of NBFC helps the promoters set up their own new bank. So students, any doubts still here? Anybody? Don't worry, in NBFC there are a lot of things. I've simplified for you. Only those things, if you go through, it's enough. Nothing else is required. Okay, please, once I finish your revision also, please go through these informations over and over again. Okay, please go through the underlined information over and over again. Okay, if you want, what I will do is, let me see if it's possible for me. Once your revision is over, I think tomorrow we will finish the revision. Once the revision is done, no students, whatever I have underlined, right, the same to same PDFs, okay, I will mail it across to you. That means I will send it to Trisha classes and I'll ask them to forward it to you. Okay, so that in case some of you have not underlined or some of you have not having the material with you, okay, so what I will do is I will directly give you this material. Okay, I will email this material to you. Okay. Now, next is, students, basics of capital market, that is shares and debentures. Okay, about different types of shares and debentures. Okay, about this, students, we will discuss tomorrow in the next class, because we just have 5 minutes now and I don't want to hurry up with the another 10 pages of things what are remaining, because there are different types of shares, different types of debentures that you should know. Okay, in shares also we have two types, equity shares and preference shares. In equity we have different types of shares. So there are certain information, certain things that you should know. Not every type of share you should know, only a few things that you should know here. Okay, so about that we will discuss in details tomorrow, and also we will take the next chapter tomorrow. Okay. Okay, students, that's it. In case you have doubts, right? Okay, I usually don't give my number, Srijan, but you can mail me on my email ID. Okay, I usually reply there. That's my mail ID to you guys. Okay, in case you have any doubts, do ask me right now. If not, we will meet tomorrow at 2 p.m. students. Until then, take care and have a wonderful day. Okay, that's not it's gmail.com. Okay, not gmsil. I just put a mistake there. Okay, it's vinay35@gmail.com. Okay, students, bye bye. See you and have a lovely day.